Why you should not own a home. The single family home is sold to you as the American dream. It's actually a trap disguised as a milestone. Here's the pitch you've heard your whole life: get a job, save a down payment, buy a house, build equity, retire comfortably, leave something for your kids. It sounds responsible. It sounds like the safe choice. But look at what that safe choice actually does to your balance sheet. It takes nearly all of your liquidity, your cash, your flexibility, your ability to move, to invest, to absorb a shock, and locks it into a single, undiversified, illiquid asset in one zip code. That's not safety. That's concentration risk. And there's a quieter alternative that's already making a comeback, one that used to be the norm before the suburbs sold us on going it alone: the multi-generational household. The single family home is a liquidity trap. Start with the math nobody walks you through at the closing table. For most middle class Americans, home equity isn't a part of their net worth. It's the majority of it, often 60, 70% or more. That means the average homeowner's financial life is a bet on one house in one town exposed to one local economy. Diversification is supposed to be the first rule of building wealth. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. And yet, the central financial advice given to every young adult in this country is put most of your eggs in this one: very large, very illiquid basket. You can't sell 10% of your house when your car breaks down. You can't rebalance your house when your industry gets automated. If the mill closes, or the base relocates, or the tech company that anchors your town's economy has layoffs, your house doesn't just lose value, your life savings lose value, and you can't get the money out without selling the roof over your head. This is the part of the American dream pitch that never gets said out loud. Home ownership isn't really an investment strategy. It's a forced savings plan with your shelter as collateral. This is why the multi-generational home is making a quiet comeback. Now here's what's actually been happening underneath the surface for the last 2 decades. Multi-generational households, parents, adult kids, grandparents, all under one roof, have been quietly rising. Not because it's trendy, because the math of the single-family home stopped working for a lot of people, and families rediscovered something that used to just be called how households worked before the post-war suburb rewrote the rules. And when you actually run the numbers on this model instead of the mortgage model, it starts looking less like a fallback and more like the smarter play. Multi-generational homes are a win-win. This is the part people miss when they write off multi-generational living as just moving back in with your parents, assuming you're on decent footing with your family. And I'll come back to that caveat. This isn't a downgrade. It's a genuinely different and arguably better wealth model. Three things happen at once. Shared costs free up liquidity for everyone. One mortgage, one set of utilities, split across multiple incomes instead of financed by one. That's money that goes into savings, investing, a business, instead of into a single illiquid box. You're positioned to provide for your elders, and that labor has real economic value. In-home elder care is expensive. Assisted living is more expensive. When a family provides that care themselves, they're not just saving money on a service. They're doing the equivalent of a job that would otherwise cost real dollars every month. It guarantees you an inheritance. This is the piece that changes the entire incentive structure. In the single-family model, you spend decades building equity in a house you'll eventually leave to your kids, assuming you don't need to draw it down first for retirement or care costs. In the multi-generational model, you skip the wait. You're already living in the asset. You're already building your stake in it. Not through a mortgage, but through presence, contribution, and care. The caregiving is the investment. The inheritance is the return. Here's the line I want to land. The single-family home makes your children your dependents until they're 30. The multi-generational home makes your parents your investment. I'm not going to pretend this model has no precondition, because it does, and it's a big one. This whole thing works assuming you're on good footing with your parents. That's not a small asterisk. That's the hinge the entire argument swings on. A lot of people don't opt into multi-generational living not because they're financially uninformed, but because their family relationships genuinely don't support it. Dysfunction, estrangement, incompatible lifestyles. Those are real, and no amount of liquidity math fixes them. So this isn't a universal fix. It's a model that works if the relational foundation is there. And for the people where it is, it's been sitting in plain sight the whole time. underneath decades of suburban marketing telling them to go it alone instead. The single-family home was never really about safety. It was about a specific mid-century vision of independence, one that, it turns out, came at the cost of liquidity, flexibility, and in a lot of cases, the very family support systems that used to make people financially resilient in the first place. Multi-generational housing isn't a step backward. For a lot of families, it might be the most financially rational structure available.